morning. My name is Avyn Teeter. I'm from Gove County, Kansas, more specifically Grinnell, Kansas. I'm a sophomore at Wheatland High School, and I live on a farm 10 miles south of Grinnell where we raise corn, milo, wheat, and we have a Black Angus beef herd. The title of my speech is, How Can Rural Kansas Conserve Water for the Future? Water is a vital resource in every aspect of life. In northwest Kansas, over 60% of cash crops and forage feeds are grown on irrigation. With the unpredictable weather and recent drought over the last few years, water has become even more of a necessity. This topic is especially important to me as someone with a background in agriculture. I need to know the best practices and ways to conserve water for the future of agriculture and the future of rural America. According to the Kansas Office of State Climatology at kstate.edu, the annual precipitation report of Gove County was 14.97 inches in 2023, as opposed to the 25 to 28 inches reported in Jefferson, Atchison, and Wyandotte counties. Due to the scarcity of precipitation in our area, local farmers and ranchers have learned to adapt and overcome part of this issue. In 1920, crops on 95,000 acres of Kansas farmland were being irrigated. 85% of that land, however, was located between Dodge City and the Colorado line. The irrigated crops were alfalfa, wheat, rye, barley, and sugar beets. This information comes from the Kansas Historical Society. With irrigation comes problems and challenges. Farmers in northwest Kansas are limited to a certain amount of acre feet per year. LEMA, which stands for a Local Enhanced Management Area, is restricting irrigation water usage, cutting back the amount that farmers are allowed by 10% over the next 5 years. There are many counties like Wallace, Greeley, Scott, and Lane have been hit by major aquifer declines. Almost 2/3 of aquifer levels have depleted since the introduction of irrigation. So, how can we conserve it? There are many programs available to farmers and ranchers. USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service, or NRCS, works one-on-one with farmers and ranchers to help implement conservation approaches and practices that conserve water while at the same time improving the health of their lands. Cover crops improve the health of soil by keeping the soil covered, cooling the surface, and reducing water loss to evaporation. They increase organic matter in the soil, which improves soil structure, prevents soil erosion, and ensures water and nutrients stay where they should be, in the soil. Healthy soils help plants better utilize water, meaning less is needed. Farmers plant covers like grasses, small grains, or legumes in time periods between growing their cash crops. Another way to conserve water is residue and tillage management. No-till is the practice of creating a narrow furrow just large enough for the seed to be placed, typically using a no-till planter. By not plowing or disking prior to planting, cash and cover crop residues stay on the surface, protecting the soil and keeping it healthier than it would be using conventional tillage. When this residue breaks down into organic matter, it helps improve soil structure. Fields managed using high residue no-till for multiple years generally have higher infiltration rates, higher levels of organic matter, and a higher water holding capacity than conventionally tilled fields. That means that water received, gets, and stays in the land instead of running off the field or moving below plant roots. On my family farm, we have evaluated and continue to use many water conservation techniques. The most effective and efficient practices for our farm are no-till farming, rotational grazing on pastures, wheat, triticale, corn and milo stalks, and planting cover crops such as winter wheat. Little to none of our forage and hay crop is grown on dryland ground, demanding that we conserve and use our irrigation wisely to ensure maximum yield and tons per acre. Water conservation is also very critical to our livestock. To be able to rely on an efficient and on-demand water supply is a major weight off of a rancher's back, especially with the unpredictable Kansas weather. To summarize my previous statements, the most effective and efficient water conservation practices are no-till farming, rotational grazing on pasture land and various crops, and planting cover crops such as winter wheat. Water is a necessity and the risk of losing it should not be taken lightly. More farmers and ranchers need to know about the effects and risks of poor water conservation if they have not experienced them firsthand already. Precipitation is the driving factor of Kansas agriculture and the people who depend on the crops and livestock grown here. I strive to find more water conservation techniques to prepare for the impending drought conditions and the insurance of a healthy and dependable water supply. We only have one water available to us and the next generation of farmers, teachers, ranchers, doctors, and every person on earth. Nothing is ever guaranteed, but with your help, I believe we can conserve water for the future of agriculture and the future of rural America. Thank you.
Avyn, thank you for your presentation. Very important topic for sure. So living in Gove County and having a family farm, what would you tell that person in Jefferson County that gets more rainfall and may not have a livelihood based on agriculture, of why it's so important?
Agriculture is what feeds the world, and without rain or precipitation, you're not able to grow that food, and more people, I guess, aren't aware of the consequences and what the world could be without farmers.
Yeah, very nice job. Nice emphasis. I'm a big stickler on that. I like it a lot. I want to get your opinion a bit. You stated some statistics in your speech. In your opinion, how easy were those to find, and do we need to do a better job at promoting them and making them more accessible?
Like the aquifer level, that I had to go to a few different websites to find that, and you can't just search it up, right? So you gotta really go in and find it, but that's major because that's the amount of water that we have available, and I guess more people need to know that it won't be there forever.
Thanks, Avyn. Put your crystal ball in front of you. Assuming you'll be going back to the farm or staying on the farm, what would be the greatest challenges in the next 10 years as you grow into that operation for any of the irrigators in your country?
Finding a balance between sustaining your farm and not running the well dry. Basically, you can't just pump the well dry, but you still need to be making money.